So we're working on 1945 in Studio 1.0, and we're at the point where we've made one enemy and we're about to use it as a template to make more enemies. So what I already did was I right-clicked on the enemy, I duplicated it, and I renamed the new one as Enemy 2 with the sprite Enemy 2. So I get all of the same programming that I had in Enemy 1 for free, which is fantastic because Enemy 2 is going to act very similar. I want it to move. If it goes outside of the room, I want it to respawn at the top of the screen so we can reuse it again. If it collides with the plane, with the player, I want pretty much the same thing to happen. I could adjust the score maybe or the health. Maybe this is a bigger plane, it causes more damage. There's some options there. And if it collides with a bullet, same types of things can happen. I could make an enemy maybe where maybe it has to be hit twice. I could make a variable with the amount of damage being stored in it, but let's just keep all those little details the same for now. And the main way that we're going to make this enemy different is we're going to have it fire straight down, fire bullet straight down. So we have obj enemy bullet 1, so let's use that. And let's say every step there's going to be a chance of it firing. So this dice is a great way of having a chance so that it doesn't seem like every 2 seconds all the enemy planes all fire a bullet at the same time. This is more random. Each of the instances the enemy could be firing every so often. So maybe with a chance of 30, I think it's set so we have 15 steps per second. So once every 2 seconds it could fire. Okay, and if we want only one thing to happen after an if statement, then we don't need to add these blocks here. But if we have several things, then we do need these blocks. So I'm just going to pull them in and have an opportunity to tell you. So if it's true, it'll do everything inside the blocks, or it would do one statement afterwards if you just had one statement. So let's create an instance of the bullet moving. So this, I'm hovering to see, I think this one's create a moving instance. Yes, create a moving instance of. So what do we want to have created? The enemy bullet. And where do we want it to be created? We want it to be relative to the enemy plane. And we want it to be moving down the screen. So remember that a direction of 0 is basically to the right, 90 is up, 180 is to the left, and 270 is downwards. If you've taken grade 11 trigonometry, then you may have seen this already. Can't remember if it's in grade 10 math trigonometry or not. So we want it to go down, so 270. A speed of 0 means it's not moving at all. We can try some different speeds. Maybe we'll start with 8 and see how that looks. So we want it to be applies to self because the position's relative to where the plane is. So after I do any programming, I like to test it. I don't know if I put them in the room yet or not. But it's creating it, so it shouldn't matter when it's created. Okay, it would have to be in the room because I'm not saying in the step event to create it. Well, we'll see if there are any in the room, and if not, then we know what to do. Okay, so we can see those enemy planes are firing. Okay, so that's working well. Now we want to make one more kind of enemy, only it's going to have bullets. Instead of going straight down, the bullets are going to be heading towards the plane. So let's duplicate enemy 2 because the bullet is already there, and the programming will mostly be the same. But you can make it more interesting by making changes. Okay, so did I already have an enemy 3? I already have an enemy 3. That's okay. I want to show you the process. So enemy 4. And we'll use the enemy 3 plane, I guess. So here, instead of just creating an instance that's moving in a direction of 270, I'd like it to move towards the player. So this creates moving, and we need to look up how to make it move towards the player's position. If it was in terms of x and y coordinates, I could put objPlayer.x and objPlayer.y. If it's in a direction like this, then I need to know the value in degrees. We could use trigonometry to calculate the difference between the enemy's position and my position, but that seems like more work than necessary. So let's see if there's a better way. If we were to just tell it to be created here and then go into the bullet object, and from there we could, no, not that one, we could use this inside of the create and we could tell it to move towards the player. So I think that's the easiest thing to do. So instead of create moving, now like I said previously, we don't have to have this block. We could just do one step afterwards. So I want to create, how about we make a different bullet from this, just in case. Okay, obj enemy bullet 2, and we're going to say when this one's created, it's going to move towards our player. So we want it to move towards the x coordinate of the player. Make sure that you type everything correctly. So I have obj underscore my plane dot x for the x coordinate of the plane currently, and obj underscore my plane dot y for the y coordinate we want it to move towards. Let's say it's a speed of 8 again. Do we want it to be relative? No. Okay, so now we're going to say in the enemy 4, when we create the bullet, so we're going to create bullet 2. It's going to be relative to the position of the enemy, 0, 0 away from the enemy, and we want to create, I didn't save the name of the new bullet yet. Let me save this. Make it relative. So this enemy number 3 should create a bullet that moves. It's going to be created by the enemy, and then it should move towards the enemy. So if we test this now, we should see that it works. Always test your game after each new chunk of programming to make sure that it functions well.